Considered the most trusted way to tie two ropes together, this is the Double Fisherman's Bend. Now the reason it's so relied upon is because 1, it's an extremely strong knot. 2, it's very easy to check if you've tied it right. And 3, these coils here actually absorb a bit of shock if there's any shock tension on the rope. All important if you're climbing, for example, and your life is literally on the line. But even in just everyday life or at your campsite, you want to make sure you have a good knot that you can tie correctly. When done properly, it leaves 2 distinct patterns. You'll see 2 X shapes on one side and 2 distinct parallel lines on the other. These 2 knots slide into place, butting right up against one another and making this a pretty satisfying knot to tie. It's a valuable one to know because it's used to join ropes of 2 different or equal diameters, given that the difference isn't too large. Here's how we tie it. Taking our 2 ropes and pointing in opposite directions, start with the right side and first wrap over top, making sure it coils backwards over itself. Repeat this for a second wrap, again in the backwards direction. When your 2 wraps are completed, you'll see the double coils facing you. Thread your rope through both of them and pull to tighten. What you'll be left with is this X-shaped knot. And now we can move on to the other rope, where we'll perform the same steps but in the opposite direction. Start with the wraps underneath this time. You'll see our 2 coils, and now thread the tag end through them and pull to tighten. Now we can pull the 2 lines and the bend will cinch together. On one side you'll have your 2 X shapes nested together, and on the reverse side, the 2 parallel shapes nested together. The tag ends should be faced in opposite directions and on opposite sides of the knot, one on the top, one on the bottom. Now, if you accidentally have it cross-matched, like the parallel shape and the X shape matched together, the reason is because the direction of your initial wrap just went the wrong way. So just redo it, remembering that second knot goes in the opposite direction, which is wrapping underneath instead of over top. And that should fix the issue. Now, one thing to note about this bend is that once you put tension on it, it could bind up so tightly that it's nearly impossible to undo. So for the price of security, you're making a more or less permanent connection. And while it is the preferred bend to use when you're tying your prusik knots, if you want something that's secure, but also easy to get undone after a load has been put on it, you might want to try the Zeppelin Bend, also known as the 69 knot. I'm your friend DJ from the Bare Essentials, and thanks for stopping by.